Hello and welcome to a DFS Strategy video for the 2022 RBC Canadian Open. My name is Eric, and here at SweetSpotDFS, it's all about trying to hit the optimal lineup every single week. In the preview video I put out yesterday, we went over all the stats that are going to matter at this event. This video is all about finding the players to help us hit the optimal lineup. So we're going to be going over the SweetSpot ranks, the marquee tee times, as well as the anchor buckets to narrow down and find our best anchor plays. I'll end this video by talking about my favorite duos that I'm thinking about pairing my lineups with. Plus, we'll build some lineups with the optimizer, which reminds me, I want to talk about some giveaways. The first one being a subscriber giveaway. If you're subscribed to this channel and you leave a comment on any of the videos I put out this week, I'm going to give you free entries into this giveaway. I'm giving $10 away this week. So if you want in, be subscribed, comment down below, give me your favorite 2 golfers you want to anchor your lineups around this week, and you'll get a free entry into this giveaway. I'll be running a bigger giveaway for the US Open, probably $30, and we'll still try to get to that 400 subscriber mark. We didn't do it within the last 4 weeks, so I'm just going to give $10 away for this after this week. We'll run it during the US Open, but then I'm going to run a new one then. So if you want in, again, be subscribed and comment down below. The second giveaway that I'm doing is a prize picks giveaway. If you're not yet signed up with prize picks, I have a link in the description below that'll get you straight to the sign up page. If you sign up and put $20 in your account, I'm going to give you your $20 back. Plus, prize picks will match your deposit up to $100. That way you can play this for free. It'll only cost you sign up information. Plus, you'll have $40 in your account instead of $20. Again, link in the description below. And of course, if you want to follow along throughout any of these videos, the preview or the strategy video, I do provide a cheat sheet, which is also, I should say, there's a link in the description below for that. So you can follow along with me. All I ask you to do is go to the file menu, make a copy, have it for yourself. That way you can edit however you'd like or modify it however you'd like. And again, you'll be able to follow along with me throughout these videos. One last giveaway is the optimizer that I had already mentioned. So I'm going to be running this at the end of this video. So if you want to see how it works, stay tuned. But this can be yours as well. Email me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. Let me know that you're interested in this. Be subscribed. And also, just like the subscriber giveaway, give me your 2 favorite golfers in the comment section below. And I will send you the optimizer. Again, I'll be showcasing this a little bit later, but let's go ahead. Let's get into the strategy video and start with my rankings. So I will rank them from top to bottom, and then we'll talk about these. I'm actually going to hide this column here. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know all the criteria that I put into my scoring models. I like to look at the OWGR, the grass stats that are at this event. Basically, just look at bent grass. You're going to see that I have a grass stat number 2. Don't worry about this. This is just a fill in. You can see everybody has the same points added to their score. So no one's getting an advantage. There's not a second grass type that I'm looking at. So don't worry about this. Then I have tournament history, which, you know, you could call event history. And then I like to look at bogey avoidance, birdie or better, and driving distance. I think these are 3 good stats that, I mean, for DraftKings scoring, you want as many birdies as possible. But I do want to safeguard myself and include bogey avoidance. And for me, driving distance is your potential. The further you hit the ball, the better chance you have at scoring. Now, there are some, you know, very good short ball hitters that are very accurate, but it takes them so much harder to score than someone who hits the ball far. So I do have weights for this stat as well. And then we're looking at recent form stats within DraftKings points, recent form points, and scoring average. This would be the last 7 weeks, which would include my recent form. And then we have season-long stats, DraftKings points, scoring average, round under 70 percentage, made cut percentage. I should always say CM. I always forget to update this. It should be cut made percentage. I know that looks like miscut, but it isn't. And then DraftKings top 10 percentages. Basically, the best golfer in the field with the most DK top 10s is Rory McIlroy. That's why he's at 100 points. And then it scales down from there. So really the best DraftKings point scorers are getting a huge advantage because you can see the difference between Rory And I mean, let's just use Harold Varner III because I think he's extremely mispriced this week. But either way, 28 points goes towards HV3, 100 goes to Rory McIlroy. Now, just to see what the scoring looks like, kind of a little breakdown, 20 points separates Justin Thomas, who's my #1 golfer, from Rory McIlroy. And then it kind of drops a little bit to Scottie Scheffler, which is kind of surprising if I'm being honest. Not only do I think his recent form would be, better than most, but even his season long with 4 wins, the model doesn't think so. So #3 in my model, he barely eclipses Cam Smith. So with all that being said, I think the salaries are pretty darn close to what they should be. According to my model, that is. I'm not saying my model is the best thing in the world, but according to my model, if we look at all the salaries, pretty darn good. Now, one thing I forgot to do, what I usually like to keep track of is what is the lowest price that you see at the top of my screen. It's $8,400 Mackenzie Hughes. I only like to really look at this because I'm not going to go through all the other golfers. So $8,400. If anyone's cheaper than 84 that you see in the top here, I would consider them a great value. So when we go back and sort these, do we see anyone lower than 8,400? CT Pan. He's the only golfer that I think is quote unquote a value play. All the 10K golfers are at the top of the rankings. So there really isn't like a perceived value that, we can really get from my rankings. DraftKings did a pretty good job putting all the salaries together. So no real edge, in my opinion, when it comes to my rankings versus what DK has for their salaries. Moving on from here, I like to use the SweetSpot ranks to go into my Marquee tee times. And instead of putting all this filters in for colors, I can basically sort these by rank. Talked about this in the preview video. I just started adding this maybe a couple weeks ago, something like that. It shows you who the top groups are based off of my rankings. And I should say these are the tee times. So the top tee times based off of my rankings. I like to highlight the top 10 groups, actually the top 9 groups, because that's all that the optimizer can provide. There's too many conditionals otherwise. I'll get more into that when we get to the optimizer, but I like to highlight the top 9 groups. And then from here, what I like to say, usually you want to find somewhere between 2 to 4 golfers to anchor your lineups within, these Marquee tee times. So all the groups that I just highlighted, the 9 tee times that I highlighted, grab somewhere between 2 to 4 and anchor your lineups around those golfers. Another rule to go with that, do not pair golfers in the same tee time together when you're anchoring your lineups. So you really couldn't do anything in that first group, but let's say, here's a good one. How about Keith Mitchell? Say you like Keith Mitchell and you like Martin Laird. They are playing in the same group. There's nothing to say that they can't both be in the optimal lineup, but if I use all of the statistics or just everything that I have captured over the last year, it's a very, very, very rare that 2 golfers from the same group will be inside the top 10, and furthermore, in the optimal lineup. So, I think logic would dictate that having Scottie Scheffler and Cam Smith in your lineup is going to really hamstring your lineup builds, because you're going to have 2 guys that are 10K and above. It's usually not a good place to start. So you wouldn't want to put these guys together. And same goes with Sam Burns. So these top groups would be really hard to actually pair golfers together. And I won't lie, I really like Corey Connors. My first lean was putting Rory McIlroy with Corey Connors. So now that I see that they're paired together, I'm not going to put them together. And again, for any of those guys out there that are like, again, why does it really matter? Can't I just pair these? You certainly can. You can pair them up. I'm just going with basically the odds that I've seen over the last year. It's not very good pairing those guys up together. So I think it's kind of in our favor a little bit, because I believe these top groups, you want to start there. Remember in the preview video, I had said play a 10K golfer. Well, I think you've got your choice of these top 5 guys. Now, Shane Lowry is the other 10K golfer who I really like as well. I wouldn't mind like pairing up Shane Lowry to go with the Corey Connors. But if it's not Shane, I wouldn't mind like Sam Burns. I wouldn't mind Cam Smith because they're not in the same groups together. I know it's kind of messy. Let's see if I can. Never mind. So I wouldn't mind doing something like that. Corey Connors with Scotty or Corey Connors with Cam Smith. I think those are pretty decent plays. And I like to sprinkle when I do anchor these, if I pick 2 golfers to anchor, kind of like to do an AM and a PM. There's no rhyme or reason. It just, to me, feels right. So that's why I do it. But you guys can do whatever you'd like. If you wanted to pair Corey Connors, who's an AM golfer, with Shane Lowry, who is also an AM golfer, more power to you guys. Like, go ahead and do that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So do with this as you will. Again, if you're following along with the cheat sheet, you can put all the filters in here to figure out who my marquee tee times are. You will see, they're color coded here as well. So you can also filter out by that color and only show those golfers. Again, try to find 2 to 4 golfers from the marquee tee times. Now, when we go from here, the next place I like to talk about are the anchor buckets. So like what I do, and again, you can follow along with the cheat sheet. Actually, let me go to the cheat sheet so you guys can see this. I have 2 tabs down here, the dream sheet and the bucket system. There should be a filter button up here that says the bucket system. Go ahead, select that filter, and then follow along with me, because what I like to do is basically go to the max projection, go greater than or equal to 2 under this filter by condition drop down here, greater than or equal to 2. And this gets me to my anchor buckets a lot faster. Now, I don't really care about the minimums because I already kind of looked to see how many there were. The next piece I want you guys to do is go to this year bucket totals under this bucket total box. Go to this year and go less than or equal to 30. Now, for me, here, let me open it up for you guys so you guys can see this. This is just easier for me to figure out the easier anchor plays to actually build my lineups around, because the last year 6 bucket has 156 golfers in that bucket. That's the whole field. There was no tournament. There was no Canadian Open last year. Last week finishing position, or I should say last week 6s, there's 111 of those golfers in the field. Not a lot of people from the Memorial Tournament are coming over to this one. So trying to find an anchor play out of 111 golfers is pretty difficult. So that's why I don't include that. Same thing's going to apply with someone who has, or with a bucket that has 58 golfers in it, or even 47. So that, therefore, that's why I go less than or equal to 30. So again, if you're following along, just put these conditions in there, super easy. And it spits out 4 buckets to anchor our lineups around. If you remember in the preview video, like we went over why a lot of these buckets don't really, they're very difficult to use this week, because again, we didn't have a tournament last year. We didn't have a Canadian Open that we can use last year buckets to. We only have 1 year's worth of strokes gain data. We have 3 years worth of salary data. There's just not a lot of years that we can use data to normalize the stats. So for me, I'm not looking at these salary buckets. Let me actually finish that thought that I was just going on. There's just not a lot of buckets that we can use. But going from there, I'm not really going to use these salary buckets. These are great guidelines. To me, again, we don't have a lot of data to use to normalize this. But I think with 6 10K golfers, it's a no-brainer. You want to build your lineups around a 10K golfer. There's only 6 of them, so the chance of picking the correct one is pretty darn good. You got a 16% chance to do so. And it's probably even better than that, because you might have a better lean towards one golfer over the other. So start with the 10K. Now, I don't really agree with the 9K golfers here, because I don't like any of them. If we go and we take a look here, we can go by salary and just look at our 9K golfers. Starts with Matthew Fitzpatrick at 9,900, and it comes down to Keith Mitchell. Now, one thing I will say is there's, a decent amount of golfers in the 9K range. I think we have probably one more than we typically do. So it just adds to the percentages of one of them being inside the top 10. And when I do look at this list, there are some good names. So I think Keith Mitchell's worth a 9K price tag. I think Chris Kirk is worth a 9K. Sebastian Munoz is like on the cusp. I think he should be in the 8K range. And that's not really looking at anybody in the 8K range. Maybe this is the right price. But having a $9,000 Sebastian Munoz doesn't make me feel comfortable. Nor does an Adam Hadwin. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a high quality player, but at 9,300, I don't think so, because I do put Tony Finau that much ahead of Adam Hadwin. I like Finau, but it's hard to trust Finau. I think I'm leaning towards him, but we'll see. We'll see how this video goes, and then lineup builds. I'm sorry to say this, but usually by Wednesday, I've already flipped my mind on things that I want to do, and I don't really follow everything that I do in this video. I'm sure you guys can relate, because we have ideas of what we want to do Monday, Tuesday, and we don't follow through on Wednesday. So I'm telling you now, I do like Tony Finau this week, but tomorrow might be a whole different story. I might jump off. But we have Tyrrell Hatton at 9,500. That's okay. He's usually, I mean, when he won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, his price tag skyrocketed. He is a high quality golfer. I don't mind Tyrrell Hatton being in the 9K range. I'll probably use some of him. Corey Connors, I think this is a very fair price. Harold Varner III is wildly mispriced, in my opinion. And I guess so is Matthew Fitzpatrick. We can use the little value numbers that I have here. Now, I guess Varner is a higher value than Corey Connors, but I don't know. I don't trust Harold Varner III being a $9,700 golfer. I don't mind playing HV3 when he's in the 7K range, or maybe even the low 8K range, depending on the tournament. But here, I would rather play Johnny Vegas at $8,500 than I would Harold Varner III at $9,700. But anyways, the 9K range, hard for me to trust. I mean, golfers that I do like is Fitzpatrick, Connors, Hatton, and Finau. And I will sprinkle in Munoz, Kirk, and Mitchell. I want to like Adam Hadwin, but I just don't know what the upside is. Other than being a Canadian at the Canadian Open, I just don't know. It doesn't make me feel good. So talking about the salaries, we basically just crossed off two of the anchor buckets to talk about. Stroke gain bucket, I have 1 year's worth of data. I am not going to follow this whatsoever. Good guideline, but I'm not going to stick to the projections that are here. And I would also advocate for you guys not to as well. So really we have one bucket to talk about, and that's the recent form 2 bucket, which has 18 golfers in it this year. Usually we see 17. And these are golfers who have pretty good recent form, that 20 to 40 range. So their average finishing position is between 20th and 40th place. This could mean that they have just a bunch of 20th place finishes, or this could mean they have a bunch of top 10 to follow along with some, 60 to 80th place finishes, or maybe even a miscut. So any golfer that's in there, again, we only have 18, or I shouldn't say any, or only, but we do have 18 golfers in that bucket this year. We want somewhere between 2 to 5, and I don't mind that. So when we take a look at our recent form 2 golfers, we have a pretty good list of golfers, and you can see everybody. I can't even scroll up and down. This is everybody that you see on the screen. Starts with Scotty Scheffler at 11-1, goes down to Justin Thomas at 10-9, Shane Lowry at 10-1, and then Sam Burns at 10,000. You can do a couple different things here. Now, we are missing 2 10K golfers, one being Rory McIlroy, and the other one being, who was it? Cameron Smith. So you could maybe go with one of those golfers, one of those 10K golfers, and then find somebody here in the 9K range, because we do have 6 golfers in the 9K range here. So maybe you go with a Rory. Oh, no, we can't do Rory and Corey. Remember, they're paired up together. But we could do a Cam Smith and a Corey Connors. That's not a bad pairing to start with. So we have one of our golfers then in this bucket that we want to anchor around. But we can also pick several more. I mean, 2 to 5, remember? So we go from here, maybe drop down to David Lipsky at 7,300, or maybe we start in the 10K range and then drop to also the 9K range. Can't put JT together with Corey Connors just because of the sweet spot process doesn't allow us to. So yeah, going with a Shane Lowry and a Corey Connors, like we talked about earlier, not terrible. And then if you want to drop down and find another golfer to pair him up with, again, I like Lipsky, I like Sabatini, Nick Hardy is a decent play. A lot of these guys I have no issues with. Even a Patrick Rogers, I think, is a good play at this event. But then from here, it kind of goes up quite a bit in the price tag, or within the price tag. So I don't know. A lot of the 9K golfers I like. I don't mind Justin Rose. $8,800 is kind of steep in my opinion, but the value's there. It's not terrible. Really up to you guys. I'm leaning towards putting Corey in my lineup. Same with Shane Lowry. But I also wouldn't mind going to someone like a Scotty Scheffler and maybe dropping down to a Sebastian Munoz or even a Chris Kirk. Like, I don't mind those plays whatsoever. I'm kind of leaning towards finding a PM golfer in the 10K range. So we do have Scotty as one of them, and we also have Sam Burns as another. The reason being, I do like that PM AM stack. To me as a player, I kind of want to know what the rest of the well, I want to know what the wave ahead of me is doing. You know, like say the average scoring or the average score for the round is somewhere around like 69. So it's a par 70 this week. If people are only going out at 1 under, I know it's going to be tough. I don't need to boat race anybody. I can play smart golf and then try to, you know, shoot 1, 2, 3 under, and I'm going to be in a good position. But let's say, you know, the first group makes the turn and they're 12 holes in, and one of the guys is 6 under. I know it's a boat race. I need to try to make as many birdies as I possibly can. I know the golf course is that easy, so that's where my mindset's going to be. And when I'm practicing, I'm practicing being aggressive. So to me, I'd rather play a PM golfer, a PM AM golfer, as opposed to like an AM PM golfer. But don't get me wrong, you're still going to have an even mix of AM and PM inside the top 10. You usually see it most weeks, even when there is kind of a weather advantage. Whether that be, you know, where you want to, what am I trying to say here? Where it would be advantageous playing like an AM PM versus a PM AM. Like even when we have those weather waves, like the Players Championship and then what the PGA Championship, you still had like what 3 or 4 golfers on one wave and then the 6 to 8 golfers in the other wave. That week, the optimal lineup had 2 guys, like at the PGA Championship, had 2 guys in the AM wave, and then 4 guys in the PM, or whatever the stronger wave was. So you still want to mix and match. That's all I'm trying to get at. You still want to do that. So this being really the only bucket to anchor around, I think we need to make some stands here. I think, again, Munoz is on my list. So is Connors. I don't mind Chris Kirk. But I really have to make a decision up here, and I'll be thinking about this when we go into trying to make our duos, which I suppose is right now, isn't it? We want the video actually went a lot quicker than I thought it would be. Okay, so why don't I bring up the optimizer and just show you guys how these lineups are built. So basically what I have in place, we have all the buckets already in here. I was a bit conservative. I didn't go so aggressive with some of those numbers. Like strokes gained 1, it said you wanted somewhere between 2 to 4 golfers, or 2 to 5 golfers, I think it was. Maybe it was 2 to 4. Let me just double check. Strokes gained 1. Yeah, 2 to 4. So I dropped that down to 1 to 4 because, again, we only have 1 year's worth of data. I don't trust that projection all that much, but I still want to grab 1 golfer from there. I have all the groups, all the Marquee Tee Time groups in here loaded up. I'm telling the optimizer not to pick more than 4 PM golfers, no more than 3 AM golfers. And when it follows all of the bucket projections and stuff like that, when I hit run optimize, it's going to give me the most optimal lineup. So it actually goes with 2 10K golfers, which I don't like whatsoever. I don't think this is the week to play 2 10K golfers. but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I know I've been talking with a couple people, and they say, or they've been telling me like their optimizer is also spitting out two 10K golfers. So I don't know if the general public is going to do that. I don't think it really matters. But if I were to run optimize one more time, it gets rid of Sam Ryder, and it'll also get rid of the other 10K golfer. And now it's Rory and Sebastian Munoz. So when we go back to the dream sheet and we talk about our marquee tee times, is Sebastian Munoz and is Rory McIlroy within? Hold on. Now, obviously, tell by looking at Sebastian Munoz, where are you? He is not a part of a marquee tee time, which is fine. We can look at some of the other golfers who might be. Rose, Schwab, Sabatini, and Ortiz. They're not. Well, Justin Rose is, actually. Group number 37. Rory is an AM golfer as well. So these technically would be two anchor golfers, or two, anchor golfers as in the marquee tee times. It works. It goes hand in hand. We do have one PM golfer. We have one AM golfer. So when it comes to the optimizer, Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, no problem there. And then it's just finding the best golfers to go along with them, which in my model, it's Sebastian Munoz, Matthias Schwab, Rory Sabatini, and Carlos Ortiz. So do with that as you will. I should also mention $49,400 is my minimum salary that I'm doing. I suppose what I can do is just change this to 49 because those are the sweet spot rules. Please don't leave a lot of money on the table. There's just no point. All your GPP winners are leaving no more than $500 on the table. So, and I track all optimal lineups over $49,000, which isn't saying only the optimal lineups. I'm saying I'm looking for the best lineups every single week that's greater than 49,000 total salary, and seeing if that beats a GPP or whoever the GPP winner is, and how close it gets to the optimal. And I would say 95% of the time, that optimal lineup over 49,000 beats a GPP winner, and it's really close to the actual optimal lineup. So with that being said, again, don't leave a lot of money on the table. Just don't. But let's talk about the favorite duos that I have. I want to delete some of this lock information. So let me come back up here. I think it was Scotty Scheffler and Corey Connors. Those were two golfers that we could put together. We could also put like Scotty Scheffler and Tony Finau together. That wouldn't be a terrible play. Remember, Scotty Scheffler is actually in the recent form 2 bucket, which was an anchor bucket. So when we build a lineup like this, it shows we have a 10K and above golfer, a 9K, 8K, 7, and 2 6s. I don't care for the 2 6s. So I'm going to skip that and see if the optimizer will, because it's going to give me all unique lineups. Okay, so it's doing 2 6s. I can come down here to this conditional where it says 6K, and this is all. I actually split the 6Ks into a upper tier and a lower tier. I can just tell the optimizer, I just want one. Just one 6K. Let's see what the optimizer will give me. I'm hoping to see something like a 10-9-8, 7-7-6. And that is what we get. Scheffler, Connors, Rose. So these are actually 3 guys in the marquee tee time pairings. Then we have Sabatini, Hank Lebioda, and Scott Brown at 6,300. I don't actually mind Scott Brown at this event. So that's a kind of a cool combination there. The next time I run this, Scott Brown will be kicked out because the no is right next to his name, and now Sam Ryder comes in. Very similar, but now we have Brennan Todd instead of Justin Rose. Matthias Schwab, I can't remember if he was in the last one, but Sabatini was. Sam Ryder kind of fits that 6K range. See, one more. Yeah, I don't really care for something like this. But Mackenzie Hughes, another Canadian. Maybe this is a pretty decent play. We'll see. But you can see Matthias Schwab and Rory Sabatini are great values for the price tag. They just continue to show up in my optimal lineup. I can easily, if I don't want to see them, I can come down to their price tags down here, or their names, and just lock them out. So we got to find Sabatini, which is right here, and then find Matthias Schwab, which is right here. Now, when I save my lineups, it will take into account my max exposure on them. So it won't select them in the next lineup, but just to show you guys who the next people are on the list, it'd be Justin Rose, Danny Willett, Hank Libiota, we already saw that, and Martin Trainer. I don't like Martin Trainer, especially at a golf course like this where it's like tight driving. You want to be really accurate. So going with Scotty Scheffler and Corey Connors kind of hamstrings you a little bit. It hamstrings you into a lot of the low 6K golfers. But if we went with, say, a Corey Connors and a Shane Lowry like we were talking about before, maybe we'll get a whole different kind of roster construction. Yeah, that's crazy. So Lowry gets paired up with Sam Burns and then Corey Connors. This is your ultimate stars and scrubs. I don't think that's really ever a viable method. So I can come down here to the 10K range and just say, no, I just want one. Just one 10K is my max, and we'll see what it spits out. It doesn't like anything. So, man, that is crazy. I wonder if I need to change some of these. Maybe we can stick to 2 6Ks. Essentially, when something like this happens, what it tells me is Shane Lowry and Corey Connors together is not the right choice. Which is kind of disappointing because I would want those golfers together. So I guess we say nay to that and try a different route. So I can actually just tell the optimizer what to build me. I want a 10, 9, 8, 7. I want those 4 price tags in my lineup. So then if we go find Shane Lowry, let's see what the best 9K golfer to go with Shane Lowry is. It might be Sebastian Munoz. It is, but it still does not like that. There might be something screwy with my optimizer. It might just have to be 2 10Ks. That's crazy. What is wrong with Shane Lowry that is making this break? Super interesting. I have not seen this happen for a while. I'm not going to be able to figure it out while we go through this. I'm not going to waste your time. Here's an interesting one. Justin Thomas to go with Sebastian Munoz. I like that. I don't care for Rose. I don't want Schwab or Sabatini showing. We've just seen too much of them. Interesting. So 2 8Ks. I wonder if that's where the bottleneck is, because I have a max of 3 or a max of 2 8K golfers. That's probably what the issue is. But it does like Sam Burns and Tyrrell Hatton. That's actually a good duo to start with too. Sam Burns and Tyrrell. That's not terrible. How about now when we go Shane Lowry and Corey Connors? I'm sure we'll find something decent here. Sam Burns. So let's take Sam Burns' picture. And we break it. So I guess that's what it is. You can't go Shane Lowry and Corey Connors. The buckets do not like it. Hold on. Let's figure this out right now. Shane Lowry, Corey Connors. There has to be a bucket that there's too many of. They don't even match up in the same buckets, except for a recent form 2. We have enough there. Course history 2 and a 5. We have enough there. Interesting. This is puzzling. I guess that's just not the answer. You don't go Shane Lowry and Corey Connors together. I'm kind of glad to like catch the snag so you guys can see, and so it's like Shane Lowry needs to be paired up with another 10K golfer. What for? Strokes gained 4. You want at least 1. I am not figuring it out. Is it strokes gained 1? Is that the issue? We only have so many. That's the issue. Okay. Holy moly. Let's see if this works now. Yeah, that's what. Okay, that's what the issue was. I'm sorry that took so long to figure out. That's why I don't. I mean, if we went back to the anchor buckets and took a look, yeah, strokes gained 1, it says 2 to 4. There are only 5 golfers in that bucket. So if you wanted to follow that along super strict and build your lineups that way, you have Sam Burns, Matt Fitzpatrick as 2 options, and then your other 3 are the 10K above. That's why we needed to put Shane Lowry with another 10K golfer. Otherwise, it didn't work out. So let's pump the brakes and say it's okay to actually roster Shane Lowry and Corey Connors together. If you want, that is. So if we went back down here and just go 1, 1, 1, 1 for our conditionals with the salaries, I'm sure this will spit out kind of a more even lineup. Yeah. Not terrible. Lowry, Connors, Todd, Hubbard, Wallace, and Higgs. So if I'm being honest with you guys, I don't care for this duo now that I've gone through all that stuff. I think what I would much rather do is something like a Rory or JT. I might just anchor one of these 3 golfers. I don't think I really care for Sam Burns or Matt Fitzpatrick. And if you wanted 2 to 4, I think the best way to go is like a Rory and then a Sam or a Fitzpatrick, like Burns or Fitzpatrick. But again, I'm not gonna follow. I'm not gonna follow that logic. And by the way, I am measuring top 10s and optimal lineups with these numbers. We can still have, 3 of these guys finish inside the top 10. You could have a Scotty Scheffler, JT, and Rory McIlroy finish inside the top 10, and this bucket would be satisfied. That projection from 2 to 4, we would end up having 3 golfers in it. So it would say, yep, 3 golfers inside the top 10. That's exactly what we're projecting. Exactly, that's what happened. But you couldn't build a lineup that way. And that is kind of the downfall with the whole bucket system and building lineups together. But now that we know that, and it just takes trial and error to figure that out. Me telling you this now, I think choosing one of these 3 guys is the way to go. So if I'm doing that, you can already see JT and Rory are in a group together and they're paired up with Corey Connors. So if you go the JT or Rory route, I would just highly recommend not pairing up with Corey Connors. I think having a Tony Finau in your lineup, to me, might be the way to go. Again, I'm usually trying to figure out what that next, like a PM golfer that I want to play. So like Cam Smith kind of intrigues me. So going Cam Smith and Tony Finau actually seems like a pretty interesting play. And I don't know how many people are going to have that combination. So up to you guys. I don't really have a favorite duo, I think, at the time. I wish I had. I mean, I kind of went into it thinking that Shane Lowry and Corey Connors were going to be my 2 guys, but after building lineups, I don't really like. I don't like that group together so much. So for me, I think what I'd want to do instead, find me an AM golfer that I like and pair him up with a PM golfer. So yeah, like Cam Smith or Scotty Scheffler. I do like those 2 quite a bit. I also really like Rory too. I don't like pairing Rory up with anybody, if I'm being quite honest. That's crazy. That is so crazy. I'm going to filter out by color this time. See who my AM and PM golfers are. So your PM golfers in the anchor buckets, or in the marquee tee times, I should say, Scotty Scheffler, Cameron Smith, Sam Burns. They're the only golfers I really care about owning or rostering. The morning has, to me, many much better golfers. Do we go like Scotty Scheffler and Tony Finau? I don't know. Decisions, guys. Decisions. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you with the rest of them. Really tried figuring that out there at the end. I apologize for all of that. That shouldn't have taken that long. But if you want a chance to win $10 this week, give me your 2 favorite golfers this week, and be subscribed. That gets you a free entry into the giveaway. And then during the next preview video, which will be the US Open, I will run the giveaway, and one of you lucky people out there will win $10. So watch that preview video to see if your name is called. This is going to be a culmination of the last 4 weeks. So anybody who would put entries into the last 4 weeks with all of the participation on the channel, those are all going into this giveaway. So that's why it pays to participate. You're going to have more opportunities to win. Again, I mean, it just takes one entry sometimes might win this. So don't feel discouraged by me saying that. I'm just trying to reward those that participate on this channel more than others. So again, be subscribed, comment below. You'll have a chance to win $10 coming up at the US Open. And then from there, we'll also run another giveaway, which if we can get to 400 subscribers by the end of that week, someone will win $30. So be on the lookout for that. Again, prize picks, if you haven't signed up, link in the description below. Sign up, put $20 in your account, and I will refund you your $20 back. Prize picks will match your deposit of 20 up to 40. I mean, it'll go to 40 from 20. You could put in $100 if you'd like, and they'll match your deposit up to $100. But you only put 20 in, it won't cost you anything but sign up information. Again, I'll give you your $20 back the very next day. Link in the description below. And hopefully you follow along with me with the cheat sheet. If you didn't, you can always rewind. There's a link in the description to bring you to the cheat sheet. And then obviously the optimizer, which we just used here, kind of not successfully with Shane Lowry and Corey Connors, but here, let me put that up on the screen. Not very successful with Shane Lowry and Corey Connors. We figured it out. We can still build lineups with them, but it kind of, I think, is more of a hint. Perhaps we shouldn't put those two golfers together. So if you want access to this optimizer, I really like it. It narrows down the combinations of lineups you can actually create, and that's really good when you're trying to hunt the optimal lineup. You want the lesser clues possible. You want a direct line to it. You don't want to be scattering all over trying to find all the pieces. The optimizer puts in all of the bucket conditionals, all the bucket system conditionals, and really just tightens down on who you can put together. So that's why I like it. I don't have to do a lot of guesswork. I do put in my 2 favorite duos like we were talking about in this video, and then the optimizer does the rest. I create 90 lineups with 2 guys anchored down, and then the next 4 are just random, and they're all unique. 100% unique. That is what this optimizer provides you. So if you want access to it, be subscribed, comment down below, email me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com, and I will send it your way. Just say you're interested in it. That's all you got to say, and I'll send it with you. But that's all that I have. So we're going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.